What's up, all my movie loving maniacs? This is your boy Bankful B of the Lassiter Factor, and today I'm going to talk about one of my most anticipated movies of the year, Superman, directed by James Gunn, which was released in theaters over the weekend. I went to the theaters to go see it, so let's review. So, Superman 2025 is yet another reboot of Superman that also launches a new cinematic universe with DC characters. He is a few years deep into being Superman, but just lost his first fight. But then, through a few misinformation, Lex Luthor is able to change the narrative about Superman, and Superman and friends try to clear his name, essentially. Now, as you know, this movie is written and directed by James Gunn, in which he is no stranger to directing a superhero movie. He made the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, he made The Suicide Squad, which was his first hurrah into DC, and now here he is not only helming a Superman movie, but also launching a universe. A new Disney universe at that, after the failures of the DC Extended Universe. So yeah, there is a lot riding on this movie. And also, as you may know, I have been going back and watching every Superman movie since the beginning of the year, and it's now come down to this. And as you may know, I'm not the hugest fan of Superman, so therefore I have no attachment to him, his legacy, or his lore, so it was a lot easier for me to be open-minded about this movie. Because I know some people are split about this movie. Some people like this movie because it kind of harkens back to the Christopher Reeve era Superman. But then you still got the Snyder Bros out there that's still upset that that universe isn't happening no more. So they're a little apathetic towards this movie. And despite the fact that I'm not the hugest fan of Superman, I will say I've kind of warmed up to him over the years, and plus after going back and watching all of his previous movies prior to this, I do have a better understanding of Superman. There's really no right or wrong way to do Superman. You just give, as long as they have the core elements, that's all that matters, and you just gotta find the one that gravitates towards you. Now, how did I feel about this movie? I really dug this movie, though I did feel it was a little bit slow in the beginning, but then once the movie really got going, it got going, and that's when I was enjoying the movie the most. I don't know about y'all, but I just needed this movie to be a few things. One, entertain me, first and foremost. Two, be a Superman movie that almost everybody can agree on, but also be a good jumping off point for a larger universe. And I felt this movie accomplished all of that. Now, make no mistake, this is definitely a Superman movie directed by James Gunn, which could be both a blessing and a curse. And I felt it was both. Though I didn't think the humor of the movie didn't overtake the movie, and I didn't feel any type of tonal whiplash. But it did have a few moments here and there where it felt like it, though. One thing about this movie is that it is not an origin story, which is a good thing, but at the same time, it's also kind of the issue I have with Spider-Man Homecoming. Yeah, we all know the origin story, so let's just skip over it, but at the same time, you kind of took away some of the foundations that make us emotionally invested in the character, and I felt that was the case here with Superman by skipping over his origin, but they do make up for it by having the title crawl at the beginning that basically gives you all the information you need and you just right into the action. And plus, let's face it, if I can be cool with Robert Pattinson's Batman in his first movie being 2 years deep into being Batman, I can roll with it here. Now, I say there's a point in the movie where the movie really got interesting, and that's because I feel like this movie had something to say about misinformation and the dangers of it. And they basically apply that to Superman, and he's really here to do good, but then some people are afraid that he's really causing more harm than good. Now, I will say I'm not really a fan of there being actual music in a Superman movie. To me, what makes a Superman movie in cinema special is having an original score, and each composer for whatever era Superman in has had an iconic score, whether that be John Williams for the Christopher Reeve movies or even Hans Zimmer for the Henry Cavill movies. Now, David Corenswet, who dons the cape as Superman, I thought he was excellent as Superman. Everybody is bitching about how emotional and reactive he is, especially at the scene, that clip that was released online where he busted the door at Lex Luthor's office looking for Crypto, his dog, and everybody's bitching about that. I'm like, dude, is Superman not allowed to be angry and emotional? And yeah, he could have been more level-headed about it, but at the same time, if someone took your pet, you wouldn't go ape shit if you find out who did? Now, as for Clark Kent, I do feel like we didn't get enough of Clark Kent, which kind of plays into skipping over his origin story. But hey, this is just kind of the beginning of his journey, so it's not like whatever future projects he's in, we could get more Clark Kent. I actually really like Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane. I thought she had the spunk and curiosity of Margaret Kidder's Lois Lane from the Christopher Reeve movies and the journalistic sense of urgency of Amy Adams from the Zack Snyder movies. Though I did feel the relationship between her and Clark Kent and Superman was slightly underdeveloped. Nicholas fucking Hoult as Lex Luthor. He is head and shoulders better than Lex Zuckerberg in Batman vs. Superman, and all due respect to Gene Hackman in the Christopher Reeve movies as Lex Luthor, but to me, this is the best portrayal of Lex Luthor in cinema. He was a criminal mastermind, but he was also a world-class hater, and that's exactly what I needed from Lex Luthor. As for the world building, we do get the Justice Gang in this movie. I'm glad Homeboy that played Darwin in X-Men First Class got his superhero redemption in this movie as Mr. Fantastic. He was a standout character to me. But the Justice Gang in general, Green Guardsman or whichever Green Lantern this is, and Hawkgirl played by Isabella Merced, I thought they were used sparingly. I know people are saying this movie kind of feels overstuffed with characters, and in truth, they're not wrong. I mean, I do feel like these are characters that play more to James Gunn's sensibilities more than Superman. I mean, I do want this to be a Superman movie first, but if this is the best way that James Gunn can basically imply that this is a larger universe, then hey. Now, we do get Ma and Pa Kent in this movie, and also Jor-El and Laura from Krypton, and I'm not going to say too much from them, but I thought how Ma and Pa Kent were used in this movie, I thought they could have used just a little bit more, but then how they used them towards the end of the movie, there's even a touching scene between Clark Kent and Jonathan Kent, and it hits you in the feels. But I'm not going to tell you who plays Jor-El in the movie, just when you see it, you're going to be like, oh shit. Crypto the dog. So fucking cute. There's no other way I can say it. I love this dog. I wish he exists. He's just a lovable little four-legged chaos dog. Another issue I have with this movie is just James Gunn just cherry-picking characters from other movies, even though this is a brand new universe. I'm like, alright, you say this is a new universe, and yet you're cherry-picking characters from some of the other DC properties that you've done. Like, bro, if you're gonna reboot, fucking reboot. Man of Steel will always have a place in my heart because of how dark and gritty it was, but I also understand not everybody appreciated that, and that kind of tone just doesn't fit for Superman. But hey, different strokes for different folks. And going back and watching all the previous cinematic takes on Superman versus Man of Steel, and also given the negative political climate that we're living in right now, it's nice to go back to a more lighter and optimistic tone for Superman, but also challenge the character in ways that doesn't make him seem like the boring big blue Boy Scout. In fact, as a wise man once said, we could use a little old-fashioned. In the end, I do agree with some people that maybe Superman wasn't the best project that plays to James Gunn's sensibilities. But hey, what Zack Snyder did with Superman wasn't particularly what Superman needed to be either. And yet, that version of Superman still has its fans. And I felt, for what it's worth, James Gunn crafted a crowd-pleasing movie that feels familiar, harkens back to old-school Superman, but also feels new. But I also feel like this movie is kind of like the first two Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. Those movies felt more so like MCU movies than they did Spider-Man movies. And that's how I feel like this movie feels like, more so a DCU film than a Superman movie. But I still have fun with this movie nonetheless, and still felt like it was a good jumping off point for this new DC universe. I'm going to give James Gunn's Superman the thumbs up emoji, with the caveat of it maybe going up to a hard eyes emoji the more time I let this movie sit with me. Thank y'all so much for watching. Have you seen Superman? If so, let me know what you think in the comments section below. This is your boy Bankful B of the Lassiter Factor. Stay safe, wash your hands, peace.